Tonight, no more dog testing. St. Joseph's healthcare officials say those research studies will stop immediately, facing public backlash. Plus, overnight gunfire.
I thought it was like somebody knocking on the door. He came and was like, "Are you okay?" And then he's like, "Oh, I think it's a gunshot."
The East London shooting and the neighbors on edge. And over the border on a jet ski.
A male rented a Sea-Doo from Sarnia Bay Marina. Was supposed to bring it back.
He ditched it on the American side, though, and hasn't been seen since.
CTV News with Carlyle Fiset.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. We begin tonight with the latest on the animal testing scandal at St. Joseph's Healthcare. Officials with the hospital now say they will stop research studies involving dogs immediately. Last week, a report published by the Investigative Journalism Bureau in partnership with the National Post alleged researchers were secretly testing and killing dogs and puppies for human cardiovascular studies. The report cited whistleblowers claiming the animals were subjected to painful and prolonged procedures. CTV News has made repeated requests for an interview with St. Joseph's officials, but they have refused those requests, referring to a brief statement today which states the decision to end dog testing was only made after consulting with the provincial government. And this afternoon, Premier Doug Ford issued a statement on social media saying, "I was deeply disturbed by last week's reports of inhumane medical research taking place on dogs at St. Joseph's Healthcare London and immediately reached out to raise my concerns." The Premier says he's pleased St. Joe's has agreed to stop the research, and he says the government will always act to ensure any medical research is carried out in an ethical and humane manner. Thousands of Londoners were without power this weekend, with hydro officials blaming the intense temperatures. In fact, for the 5th time this summer, our region has been placed under a heat warning. With more on the escalating electricity demands, here's Rita Ismail.
This sound all too familiar today as the region deals with another heat wave. London Hydro says they had to navigate a heat-related power outage over the weekend that left thousands of customers without power for several hours.
The additional heat causes air conditioning load and other loads to go higher, and that definitely adds more current to the grid. That current stresses some of our connections, and yesterday one of those connections failed. London
Hydro has over 10,000 connections on the grid, and the constant heating and cooling resulted in equipment malfunction.
It was exacerbated by a problem at the same time at the Hydro 1 station that supplies London at Talbot. They had an issue at the same time. We haven't heard on what the actual cause was, but it ended up tripping additional 4 feeders and prevented us from restoring power. So that was a complication that we don't normally see.
Back in June, London Hydro experienced the highest recorded peak demand in the last decade.
Part of that was due to all the energy conservation that's gone on, so people have done a great thing. But now there's diminishing returns, right? There's only so many light bulbs you can change. People have changed all their light bulbs. They've added insulation, so they've done that. So now we're seeing the load start to pick up again.
With the heat expected to persist throughout the week, Ontarians are being asked to take simple steps and reduce energy use.
If you can sort of maybe block off the vents in the rooms you don't need, so you're not cooling a room you don't need to. Use things like drapes and blinds as much as possible, and then just the portable fans or ceiling fans use a lot less energy than an air conditioner.
In the meantime, London Hydro says they are handling the heat wave, and power to those customers impacted over the weekend has since been restored. Rita Ismail, CTV News.
Municipal officials have put an open-air fire ban in place for the City of London. That includes all bonfires, chimneys, fire tables, and fire pits. The ban does not include propane or natural gas barbecues or propane fire pits and pots. City staff say all active burn permits are suspended and new ones will not be issued while the ban is in effect. And at this point, there is no timeline for how long that will be.
Good evening. When we're talking about this heat and dry conditions across our region, normally in the month of August we receive about 83 millimeters of rain. We have received no rain at the London airport, so we're about 11 days in now, and yes, it's been extremely dry. July, we received less than half of what we typically would. So moving forward, looking for rainfall. We do have some thunderstorms that have bubbled up in the last hour. We're going to take a look at that. Temperatures 30 to 32 this afternoon. It felt close to 40. Still dealing with the humidex anywhere from 36 to 40. So extreme heat holding. It will be in place once again for tomorrow. Now this line of scattered showers and thunderstorms that's moving through the area, really starting to fall apart over Lake Huron, but just coming into the Sarnia area. London could squeak out a little shower, but not expecting a whole lot out of this. Coming up, the chance for scattered showers and thunderstorms moving into the area tomorrow afternoon. Carlyle, we could see some severe weather as well as a cold front starts to approach. That will bring an end to the intense heat and humidity. We'll talk about that coming up in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Julie. City Council will consider a bylaw to fine people who leave animals inside hot cars.
People understand that it's wrong to leave an animal in a hot car, and they do it, and they justify it. And there has to be repercussions.
If we are sending members of LPS or the animal control folks, that we are able to recoup those costs, but without some sort of bylaw, we are not able to charge a penalty.
So far this year, London police say they've been called to 60 vehicles with animals locked inside. Councillor Skylar Frank suggested a municipal bylaw would deter pet owners from endangering animals while recouping the cost of dispatching police and animal control officers. A draft bylaw could be considered by council before next summer.
Even though we do have provincial regulation with respect to that, there needs to be more teeth. Also, there were some good comments made here at committee about how long it takes a provincial representative to get here.
London police say one person is in critical condition after an early morning shooting in London's East End. As Sean Irvin reports, several neighbors were woken up in the middle of the night by the gunfire.
London police officers combed the scene of an early morning shooting on Fieldgate Circle just off Marconi Boulevard. What appears to be a bullet hole through the shattered glass of the front door is one area they'll look over. Officers began arriving here around 1:20 in the morning, only minutes after multiple neighbors were alerted and called 911. Some reported hearing up to 3 gunshots.
I thought it was like somebody knocking on the door, but then my husband wasn't asleep. He was downstairs, and then he came and was like, "Are you okay?" And then he's like, "Oh, I think it's a gunshot."
Another neighbor had a similar experience.
We hear 2 loud noises. We come upstairs thinking it was just a bang on the front door. We're not too certain, so we're kind of just hesitantly looking outside of the window. Shortly after, the cops show up.
Neighbors report a family with children lives inside the home. Many of those same neighbors also tell us they saw the adult male transported by ambulance. One neighbor told us that police have been seen at the house at least once before. Meanwhile, officers are searching for 2 suspects believed to be male. Police have released photos of a red Land Rover they say the suspects fled in. Investigators continue to appeal for any additional video footage the public can provide. In the interim, neighbors say they remain in shock as they send thoughts to the shooting victim and investigators as they continue to search for suspects. In London, Sean Irvin, CTV News.
Sarnia police say they are investigating accusing a Toronto man of using a rented jet ski to illegally enter the U.S. As Jerry Dewan reports, it looks like he ditched the watercraft on the American shore and is now nowhere to be found.
A personal watercraft skips along the surface of the St. Clair River just south of Sarnia. It was near this location that a similar craft was discovered on the U.S. side of the river after it was used to cross the border.
A male rented a Sea-Doo from Sarnia Bay Marina, and then he left on the Sea-Doo, was supposed to bring it back. We were contacted as the Sea-Doo hadn't been returned.
Police say a Toronto man identified as 40-year-old Romeo Bajrami paid cash for a 1-hour rental from Gordon's Water Sports. That was about 6:45 Saturday evening. When the watercraft wasn't returned by 7:45, they contacted the man by phone. He apologized and said he was about 10 minutes away. Multiple follow-up calls were made, and then police were called just before 10. That's when the search for the man and the machine started on both sides of the border.
And eventually it ended up being located on the U.S. border side.
It was found not far from Stag Island, which sits in the middle of the St. Clair River on the Canadian side of the border. Inspector Vosberg says Sarnia police have been working in cooperation with a number of U.S. and Canadian agencies.
RCMP, the OPP, the CBSA, and then with the Coast Guard, as well as with the United States Coast Guard and United States police agencies on the other side. So we work hand in hand with them.
Taylor Gordon is president of Gordon's Water Sports. He declined doing media interviews, but issued a statement saying strict protocols are followed, including verifying identification and getting waivers signed. They also have tracking systems on the watercraft. In his statement, Gordon says, in this specific case, the tracking system on the rented PWC stopped transmitting during the rental period. The cause of this malfunction is still under investigation. Vosberg says the other concern is people putting themselves at risk making the crossing.
It's not just a small little river. There's lots of current, there's lots of undertow, and people that aren't maybe as experienced with watercraft, it's actually the safety is our concern.
Gordon told CTV News that the watercraft likely won't be returned anytime soon. Canadian Border Services told him a full investigation will likely take months and the craft will be held during that process. In Sarnia, Jerry DeWan, CTV News.
Provincial police say one man is dead after a house fire just south of Rodney this weekend. First responders say they were called to this home on Pioneer Line Friday night. They say West Elgin and Dutton firefighters were called in to help extinguish the flames. The OPP Forensic Identification Unit, as well as the Provincial Fire Marshal, are now investigating what started the fire and how the man died. A strong turnout today in Sarnia for a special city council meeting. Members of the public were invited to share their thoughts on a proposed supportive housing project. As Brian Bicknell reports, the proceedings began civil but quickly deteriorated.
I would bet you dollars to donuts that if this project was going to be put in their neighborhood, they would be against it.
That's the voice of Sarnia City Councillor Bill Dennis, remotely attending a public input special council meeting. He's calling out speakers who don't live in the neighborhood where a supportive housing project is being proposed.
It's very hypocritical and it's not right.
The meeting takes a turn when former city councillor Nathan Colhoun shoots back at those opposing the development, including Dennis himself.
And to you, Bill, you don't live in this neighborhood either, so you can f*** off. All right. Mr. Calhoun, that is unacceptable in this chamber.
But from the former councillor, no apologies.
Basically to shame anyone that is in that building trying to stop the city from building houses for people that need it. I think it's pathetic, it's gross.
Community housing nonprofit Indwell is proposing a building with 50 deeply affordable apartments with wraparound supports on this George Street property.
We have homelessness, chronic homelessness, we have encampments, and we need a solution, and we believe that you're the best to help us deal with that.
The project has divided the community. Supporter Jenny Das says her daughter was helped in a big way by Indwell in Hamilton when struggling with mental health.
Through Indwell, she was able to rebuild her life, complete her studies, and is now successfully working at a wonderful job.
Area residents have undertaken a campaign saying they've done their part, some pointing to an existing shelter nearby.
Because these are people who are trying to recover from drug addiction, they're trying to recover from mental health issues, they're trying to get their lives straight after being involved in incarceration, and sometimes trying doesn't work, so the behaviors still persist.
According to Mayor Mike Bradley, the city has not yet received a formal planning application for the Indwell project. Brian Bicknell, CTV News.
London city officials are considering loosening the rules for overnight street parking, potentially in time for this winter.
Revisit the options of shortening and to include the consideration specific time, November 15th to March 31st.
Currently, overnight street parking is permitted from April 30th to November 1st. Councillors want to review those dates, though, and consider lifting the limit of 15 exemptions per vehicle. Staff will also examine parking on the driveway skirt between the sidewalk and the road on nights when snowfall is expected.
With multi-generational homes, smaller housing units, and parking densities removed, that this is an opportunity for people to be able to resolve some of the parking challenges, not face tickets during the winter months when there are restrictions.
And city staff say emergency rail crossing repairs were completed today sooner than expected. Crews had shut down Veterans Memorial Parkway this morning between Clark and Oxford. It was supposed to last until 3 p.m., but they say traffic was back moving before 11 a.m. No one from the city or CN Rail has commented on why the urgent repairs were necessary. Construction on the Adelaide Street underpass is now officially complete. City officials held a ceremony over the weekend celebrating the end of the project. With more on the finishing touches, here's Brent Lale.
As a train makes its way across the tracks, cars can freely move on the Adelaide Street underpass.
And you can hear, I don't know if that's a police car or a fire truck or a land ambulance, but you hear a siren behind me. This is exactly why this underpass is important. This is a critical pathway for emergency services to get to where they are, to where they need to be.
The City of London held a celebration to recognize its completion. The $88 million project came in about $30 million over their original estimate.
Everybody sees the finished product, but under the surface we had to redirect sewers. We actually have a pumping station because there's groundwater that we have to manage. This is a major corridor. We have 24,000 vehicles a day that travel on this road. And so it's not just for cars, it's for pedestrians and connection to the community, emergency services, transit. Everybody's benefiting from having this project done.
I moved in here about 7 or 8 years ago. Basically, the railway here, the CP Rail, pretty much ruled the whole neighbourhood on cross streets, not just on Adelaide, but on Maitland, on Waterloo Street, and every place else like that. And the underpass has just freed things up completely.
However, not every neighbour is thrilled.
In order to get construction yards to do this work, the city destroyed 12 units of housing for poor people. They destroyed 12 small businesses.
Gil Warren says this parking lot was once home to an excellent pizza place and housing. Now that the project is complete, Warren would like to see the city put the lots it purchased to good use.
What we want in the neighborhood is for the city to keep that land and use it for social housing and build a 3- or 4-story building there.
And while he expressed frustration, fellow neighbors are excited about being able to move freely.
We still see a little bit of through traffic from some of the construction downtown, but for the most part, it's improved quite dramatically.
Brent Lale, CTV News.
Coming up, the American president seizing control in D.C., Trump's decision to deploy the National Guard in the U.S. Capitol. Plus, what's next for Victoria Mboko, Canada's new tennis star, looking to build on her first professional championship.
Download the CTV News app and stay on top of local stories as they unfold.
We begin tonight with Ontario's latest.
Customize your feed and watch live wherever you are. CTVLondon.ca, your home for news.
Welcome back. President Donald Trump has placed Washington, D.C. under federal control, deploying the National Guard, justified as a crackdown on crime. He was also pressed at a news conference today on his upcoming meeting with Russia's president later this week. Mike Lucatua reports.
Today's press conference was all about President Trump flexing his muscle, saying that only he can clean up the U.S. Capitol, and adding that no one else can broker a deal to end the war between Russia and Ukraine.
I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor.
The U.S. president describing it as Liberation Day in D.C. In a bid to crack down on crime, Trump is placing Washington under federal control while also deploying the National Guard.
But now they are allowed to do whatever the hell they want.
On the streets of D.C., protesters pushed back on the idea that the Capitol isn't safe. And Mayor Muriel Bowser said violent crime is at its lowest level in more than 3 decades.
If they can place us under military control without our consent, they will carry this playbook to every community that dares to push back in the United States of America.
While using his authority on the Capitol, President Trump was asked how he'll push Russian President Vladimir Putin on Friday in Alaska, in what Trump is describing as a feel-out meeting.
Russia's occupied a big portion of Ukraine. They've occupied some very prime territory. We're going to try and get some of that territory back for Ukraine.
Trump also used the term land swap, indicating that Ukraine could also have to give up some territory. Ukraine's president is not invited to the talks, and in his nightly address, cast doubt that Friday's meeting will bring peace.
На що розраховує Путін і до чого реально готується?
Volodymyr Zelensky said Putin is not getting ready for peace, but instead is getting ready for a new military offensive. Zelensky also spoke to Prime Minister Mark Carney today, where the two leaders agreed international borders cannot be changed by force and that any decision on Ukraine's future should be made by Ukrainians. Mike Lecouteur, CTV News, Ottawa.
Expectations are rising quickly for Canada's newest tennis star, Victoria Mboko. The 18-year-old shocked the sport last week, winning the Canadian Open in Montreal. As Adrian Gabriel reports, she's shot up the rankings and now has her eyes set on the U.S. Open.
Utter disbelief. Victoria Mboko's maiden WTA title.
National Bank Canadian champion. How does that sound?
Now that when you say it like that, I mean, it feels kind of crazy. I'd say it's kind of hitting me a little bit harder now than it was right after the match.
But when you reflect back and you see what you've accomplished in such a short amount of time, what does that mean to you?
If I would have told my younger self that, you know, I would have done something like that, I would have never thought of it.
Your family flees war in the Democratic Republic of Congo. You were born in the U.S. in 2006. Shortly thereafter, you move to Canada. Do you believe the resilience, the perseverance of your parents, of your family, has transferred into your game on the court?
I think it definitely does. Maybe I haven't really experienced what they've experienced along the way, but knowing that kind of sacrifice that they make, they worked overtime, you know, so we can have the opportunity to have more lessons and play in the group practices and play with good people. There was just so many sacrifices along the way that played a big role into who I am today. I think growing up, I always was aware of it. And I think I made more of an effort to try to better myself, to make it worth it, you know.
You're 18 years old. You just won your country's top tennis tournament. How does Victoria Mboko stay grounded while continuing to rise?
I think having a great support system around me, having people who know who you are, I think it's very important at tournaments and even in life as I advance in my career, to have just great people around me that can make me feel like me and who can make me feel comfortable as well.
The teenage champion is indeed sure-footed in the spotlight. Her youthful gaze now shifts to the U.S. Open, where she'll be playing for the very first time, with aspirations of winning her first Grand Slam tournament now on the horizon. Adrian Gabriel, CTV News, Toronto.
On the desk now with Julie Anderson. Oh, welcome back to Julie
thank
Anderson
you.
After away on vacation. And you're coming back to some hot and really dry conditions as well for us right now.
Yeah, in terms of our weather, we're in the heat of it, the thick of the intense heat, feeling close to 40 out there, and it will continue into tomorrow. I wanted to look back at some of the summer heat warnings that we've had. So we're into number 5 right now. It started back on June 21st, as you can see. And yes, we have had multiple heat warnings this season. A great day to be at the beach. The beach was rather packed earlier in the day, but lots of folks heading home for the day. Still blue skies, as you can see. We do have some thunderstorms that are approaching the area, so we'll be talking about that. And the risk for severe weather heading into tomorrow. 31 and 18 are numbers for the day. Normally this time of year about 26 degrees at the London airport, still holding at 30, and the winds out of the south. It's been a bit breezy at times. So a few scattered showers and thunderstorms have developed in the last couple of hours. The bulk of it's falling apart out over Lake Huron. This area that's just coming in towards Sarnia right now is showing signs of staying together. However, I am expecting it to miss London. So again, over the next hour or so, there's about a 30% chance of scattered showers as we head toward Lambton County. Areas further east, you won't pick up any rainfall until we hit tomorrow afternoon. Now, there will be thunderstorms developing in advance of a cold front that's approaching the area. Now, this heat is widespread across southern Ontario, and it stretches all the way out into the Maritimes, where it's, of course, extremely dry out east as well. Days and weeks without rain in some areas. You can see a bit of rainfall tonight welcomed in northern Ontario. There's forest fires burning in and around the Kawarthas tonight as well, and I know that they have been dealing with poor air quality through the day today. Now, the cold front will continue to push eastward as we head into tomorrow. Scattered showers and thunderstorms will develop in advance of that frontal boundary. Heading into the afternoon, there is the potential for wind gusts up to 100 kilometers per hour and heavy downpours. Lots of moisture to work with. Environment Canada saying there is a moderate risk for severe weather. As we take a look at the weather warnings, we have some thunderstorm action in northern Ontario with a watch in effect. That pink area is our heat warning and air quality in northwestern Ontario. The forecast model showing a little bit of this light rainfall towards 10 p.m. in southern Huron County. So again, there is the potential to squeeze out a little bit of light rainfall. As we head into Tuesday afternoon, you can see some scattered showers and thunderstorms firing. It looks like in and around the GTA we'll see some heavier storms. There is the potential for some flash flooding as well. As these storms come through, they will dump a lot of rain in a very short period of time. Not ideal when you want that moisture just to be a slow, nice steady rain, but we do not have that in the forecast. The cold front will come through as we head into Wednesday, and then the air will change a bit. We will not be as hot and humid as we head into Thursday and Friday. So temperatures, we get a bit of a break and much more tolerable humidity levels. Overnight, anywhere from 20 to 22 degrees, a bit warmer along the lakeshore, but muggy conditions hold. Our Metal Roof Outlet forecast, we have the chance for rain as we head into Tuesday afternoon. Possibility of the thunderstorms, as I mentioned. Please be weather aware, the risk of severe weather. Wednesday, chance of showers likely in the morning, but clearing out in the afternoon. That's the cold front coming in, so we will see the temperature break in terms of that high heat and humidity, but still into the upper 20s. Thursday into Friday and Saturday. Daytime highs anywhere from 28 to 31. Could see a thunderstorm on Sunday with another cold front coming in, but no big areas of low pressure coming in. That's when you see a nice steady rainfall. What's happening is these lows are well to the north and they're driving these cold fronts through. They come through quite quickly and they bring the chance for thunderstorms as they roll into the area. So tomorrow afternoon, in advance of the cold front, the humidity and heat will be quite intense. You'll really notice that air mass changing through the day and becoming increasingly humid. Scattered showers and thunderstorms expected Tuesday night into Wednesday morning with the passage of the cold front. That will break the heat, and hopefully Carlyle brings some welcome rainfall to southern Ontario.
All right, Julie, thanks very much. When we come back, airport protests by flight attendants. The latest action in the midst of bargaining for Air Canada workers.
Just announced this morning, Dallas Smith is coming back to town. He's playing Centennial Hall on November 29th.
We want you to be there. We want you to beat the box office. Your next chance to score a pair of tickets coming up tomorrow morning at 7:10.
Air Canada flight attendants held silent protests at airports across the country today in the midst of contract negotiations with the airline. As Sean Leithong reports, come Saturday, more than 10,000 workers could be on strike.
A massive show of solidarity. Hundreds of Air Canada flight attendants silent in front of the country's largest airport, demanding a better collective deal.
We are here standing in silence in support of our union as they negotiate with our employer.
Over 400 members of CUPE Local 498 filed off 9 buses and onto the sidewalk outside Pearson Airport's Terminal 1, joined across the country in Calgary, along with Vancouver and Montreal. While not impacting regular operations, the statement making an impression on passengers.
I think it's very profound.
It's quite impressive that many people have come together to do something as one group.
So I think showing this kind of thing, showing that labor has some power, that workers' rights really still live in Canada, I think it's really important.
The main area of concern in negotiations, wages and unpaid work.
So just have a little bit of space.
Shannon Elliott saying they're only paid while their plane is in motion.
We're required to be at the aircraft an hour before boarding to ensure that the aircraft is safe from our end. We are also not paid for any of our boarding time, any of our deplaning time. If there is a medical emergency on the ground and we're providing vital, life-saving first aid, we're not compensated for that.
Air Canada saying they respect their flight attendants' rights to express themselves in a statement that reads in part, Air Canada remains at the bargaining table and is focused on achieving a negotiated settlement with CUPE, one that recognizes the contributions of its flight attendants by making them the best compensated in the country. The deadline to reach a deal is midnight Friday, the union having voted over 99% in favor of a strike, and they'd have to give a 72-hour strike notice as soon as Wednesday.
It will be pretty monumental.
But the union will not say if all 10,000 workers will walk off the job.
It's been 10 years. What I would ask is for a little bit of patience and understanding that we are just like any other Canadian and want to be compensated.
So while flight attendants came to a brief standstill at Pearson today, if no deal is reached by midnight Friday, air traffic could come to a standstill on Saturday. Sean Leathong, CTV News.
A warning about clicking unsolicited links texted from unknown numbers. As Pat Foran reports, 2 people recently had their bank accounts hacked, each losing more than $20,000.
Just be careful.
Christina Petrozelli of Mississauga got a link that said she had to click on it to decline a purchase. Concerned she was being scammed, she did, but it led to her being hacked and her bank account being taken over.
I clicked decline, and I guess that's where the scam was, because me clicking decline was them having access to my account.
Petrozelli was scammed out of just over $22,000. Her bank is RBC, and she was shocked to be told because she had granted the scammers access to her account, she won't be reimbursed.
I have feelings, and I have people that rely on me, and you're taking everything that I had, and I didn't do it.
A spokesperson for RBC told CTV News, "We are unable to share details. However, RBC will never ask you to download a remote access application."
I clicked the link and I updated my information. And then the next thing you know, my phone stopped working.
Christy Seymour of Oshawa also clicked on a link she thought was updating her credit card. Her phone was hacked and scammers got into her account and stole almost $29,000. She had called Wealthsimple for 3 days to block her account, but couldn't get through.
That was all of the money I've saved my entire life, and it's just gone, and they're not taking any responsibility for their part of the problem.
Wealthsimple told Seymour, your account appears to have been accessed by an individual to whom you've authorized via a phishing scam.
They're getting more and more targeted, more personalized, and more sophisticated.
Cybersecurity experts say everyone should be using dual-factor authentication to add another layer of protection and be cautious of all links you receive.
The 3 things that they're counting on are surprise, urgency, and that need to respond.
After CTV News contacted Wealthsimple, they reviewed Seymour's case and said, as a gesture of goodwill, we have reimbursed the losses she experienced while trying to contact our team. She was given a full refund of almost $29,000, which was great news for her. Pat Foran, CTV News.
Strength in consumer cyclical stocks helped Canada's main stock index finish slightly higher. The TSX is up 17 points. In New York, the Dow lost 201. The Nasdaq fell 65. The Canadian dollar dropped almost 1/5 of a cent today. On commodity markets, gold fell more than $86 an ounce, and oil gained 8 cents a barrel. Later on CTV News, handing off their camera to a guest director, the underwater photographers and their encounter with a curious sea creature. Welcome back. Health officials are calling for more RSV immunization access as respiratory virus season gets underway. With more on their concerns, here's Pauline Chan.
Respiratory syncytial virus, or RSV, is the leading cause of infant hospitalizations in Ontario, with 1 in 50 babies affected in their first year.
The issue of RSV and raising awareness is so important because of what we went through with Willa.
That was in 2023, before immunizations against RSV were available in Canada.
The emotional trauma of seeing your 2-month-old be hooked up to all these machines. She was sick for about 2 weeks. We were in the hospital for 4 days. Then I would say it took a couple more weeks for her to start getting back to herself.
We don't have an antiviral drug. What we do is what we call supportive therapy, so oxygen, IV fluids.
Dr. Vivian Brown says RSV is a very common virus that can affect any baby.
The number one risk is no risk. We see it in normal, healthy babies. We see RSV throughout the year, but predominantly around October through March. But a couple of years ago, the Children's Hospital in Eastern Ottawa had an overflow of RSV cases in August.
The majority of infants recover, but it can leave permanent effects.
Every time she gets any sort of respiratory illness, it takes a really long time for her to recover. And I think that can be correlated to her experiencing RSV.
Right now, Ontario is the only province covering both the vaccine Abrysvo, offered late in pregnancy to protect newborns, as well as antibodies called Beyfortus, given to infants.
If they had been available, I would definitely have opted in to having the vaccine prior to giving birth to her.
The Federation of Medical Women of Canada is urging all provinces and territories to follow Ontario's example. But even in Ontario, many families aren't aware that this protection against RSV is available. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
New research from a watchdog group suggests ChatGPT can provide harmful advice to teenagers. The Associated Press reviewed interactions where the chatbot gave detailed plans for drug use, eating disorders, and even suicide notes. The Centre for Countering Digital Hate found through testing ChatGPT with harmful prompts, chatbots would respond in dangerous ways more than half the time. Researchers say the study highlights risks for everyone, teens and beyond, who are turning to AI for companionship and advice. The creators of ChatGPT say they've reviewed the findings and they're working on refining how models identify and respond to sensitive situations. Advance voting wraps up tonight in the Alberta by-election, where Pierre Poilievre is trying to win back a seat in Parliament. The Conservative leader is one of more than 200 candidates in the running, mostly part of an electoral reform protest. Tyson Fredor reports.
Voters in Drumheller are at the ballot box writing in their preference for who they want to represent them in Ottawa.
I don't feel that a blind Conservative mindset necessarily is best.
I know he doesn't live in the riding, but the leader of the party really needs a seat in the House to do anything, so that's where my vote went.
214 people are looking for this rural Alberta seat vacated by Conservative Damien Currick after Pierre Poilievre lost his Ottawa area riding this spring. Elections Canada has decided to use an adapted ballot due to the number of names. The by-election is expected to cost about $2 million.
They've targeted me in 2 different ridings now, and the reality is I don't have a problem with anyone who wants to run for office, even if they're not known or not wealthy. They should be able to put their name on the ballot if they truly want to run.
Many have criticized Poilievre for parachuting into the Battle River Crowfoot riding, a Conservative stronghold, but others support the leader.
He'll represent us. Yeah, I understand why people are saying, but I don't feel that way.
I think there's a lot of people in this riding that want to see change, and then I also see a lot of people that are just angry at Pierre for picking our riding.
We're not going to see him. He's not going to do anything for us here.
The leader of the United Party of Canada says he is running to offer an alternative for Conservative voters, advocating for change and less Ottawa in Alberta.
It's really more about an independent Alberta versus continuing with Ottawa being in our lane, and this discussion about Pierre Poilievre's version of sovereignty.
While political experts believe Poilievre will win this race, but expect voter turnout to be low.
He will nonetheless interpret it as if he had just walked across the Atlantic Ocean without getting his feet wet.
Nobody's expecting him to lose the by-election, but if he doesn't win it by close to 83%, then questions are going to start being raised.
Questions on whether Poilievre is the right person to lead the Conservatives forward. Tyson Fedor, CTV News, Drumheller.
Thank you so much, Krista, for your photo submission. I'm loving all the vacation photos you're posting. Keep sending them in. Heat warning continues for your Tuesday. Daytime highs climbing between 32 and 35 and feeling like 37 to 42. A cooler air mass will arrive Tuesday night into Wednesday. And looking for rain, we have the opportunity for showers through midweek. Summer is starting to wind down, and I have an awesome group of young people who are doing something very important in our community. Let me introduce you to Gracie and Sadie. This is Maya, Miguel. This is Charlie in the red. We have Tyler and Ethan. Now, this group of young people are collecting backpacks. Now, Miss Maya, tell us a little bit about what you guys are doing.
We collect backpacks for people that are less than fortunate to get school supplies.
This is very important because this is an added stress for families as we head back to school. Extra costs. Miguel, what are you looking for people to donate?
Basically all the stuff on the table, pencil crayons, lunch pails, water bottles, backpacks, all the essential needs for back to school.
All right, and Tyler, what's the goal this year?
We want to collect 1,000 backpacks, and last year we collected around 850.
All right, well, school supplies are so important, wouldn't you say, girls? I know when anyone goes back to school, everybody needs a brand new backpack, we need a new water bottle, and we need to fill that backpack with stuff. Now, if people would like at home to donate, or perhaps if you want to buy a backpack, you can find out more information at londonbackpackdrive@gmail.com. Now, are you guys having a great summer?
Yes.
Now, are you ready to go back to school?
Yes.
You are?
Yeah.
I don't know about that. Well, this sounds like a great group. Definitely a wonderful cause. And again, they've been doing this for 10 years along with their very helpful parents, collecting these backpacks for those in need in our community. And again, for more information, go to the email on the screen.
Thank you, Julie. Hundreds gathered in Gaza City this morning, taking part in a funeral procession for prominent Al Jazeera journalists. According to the news agency, one of its most recognizable reporters in Gaza was killed by Israel, along with another correspondent and 3 camera operators. Israeli officials have confirmed they targeted the journalists, claiming one of them was a Hamas leader. Al Jazeera officials dispute that claim, calling the airstrike a blatant attack on press freedom. Australian leaders say they will recognize a Palestinian state at September's United Nations General Assembly.
Australia will recognise the right of the Palestinian people to a state of their own, predicated on the commitments Australia has received from the Palestinian Authority. We will work with the international community to make this right a reality.
The Australian Prime Minister says the Palestinian Authority has promised to hold general elections while recognizing Israel's right to exist. There has been increasing pressure for weeks mounting on the Prime Minister's office to recognize a Palestinian state amid growing criticism of the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. 2 orphaned cougar cubs, originally from Alberta, have been rehomed. A zoo in Quebec has taken them in, bringing the big cats to a part of the country where they aren't seen very often. With more, here's Christine Long.
In February of this year, in Alberta, a mother cougar was shot, leaving behind her babies, says Park Safari CEO Serge Lucier.
Out in the wild, they will die. They can't survive. I have 2 options. The provincial law says animals from the wild that cannot survive can be placed in an accredited zoological institution, Gaza, for instance, as we are, or euthanized. We don't want to euthanize them.
He called on the Calgary and Vancouver zoos to hold the cubs while Park Safari revamped an enclosure for the siblings, who seem to be settling in, says Lucier.
Female, a little more shy. Her security is her brother. That will change in time, right? That will change in time.
He adds that cougars are not an endangered species, yet certainly more rare than they used to be.
There used to be cougars all over eastern Canada. There's none in Ontario or Quebec. There's none east. There's none in eastern United States anymore. They used to be all over, right? Only out west. But let's protect what's left.
Park Safari has a naming contest for the 2 new residents to encourage families to get involved and learn more about these big, beautiful cats.
Let's be aware that our backyard, our beautiful Canada, needs to be protected.
Park Safari is open 12 months a year for visits, but nap time on a hot day means these cubs are usually just chilling. Christine Long, CTV News.
London's top stories.
We have breaking news tonight out of Ottawa. The latest in the
breaking news alerts.
I'm tracking an area of severe weather. It'll start.
And watch live.
A development now to a story from City Hall we brought you.
Download the CTV News app.
Finally tonight, a close encounter off the coast of BC between two scuba divers and a curious sea creature. They were shooting an underwater video when a giant Pacific octopus decided it wanted to turn directing. Isabella Zavarisi reports.
A cinematic moment captured by a unique subject.
It came out and fully took over my camera.
The giant Pacific octopus playing director. The results, spectacular.
So it gave us this nice inside view of all of its suckers under its arms. And it was even kind enough to turn it off after 3 minutes of filming.
The polite mollusk captivated videographers John Roney and Chris Mullen during a diving session Monday in Nanoose Bay.
It was just touching, feeling, exploring. And it was just this really incredible moment that even with all the dives between us we've had, never quite had one like that.
We struck gold because we had literally the best octopus encounter you could actually hope for.
Once the octopus finished exploring the camera, it moved on to Mullen.
Leapt over and actually gave him a full hug. There's this great moment where it reached out and it was touching his mask.
The duo say they gave the curious cephalopod space, but believe it wanted to engage with them.
The octopus is just really unique in that aspect, where it's this incredibly intelligent mollusk that's coming out and you can see that that's got a higher level of intelligence than a lot of the other animals around it.
It's not the first time Roney has had a unique underwater encounter. In January, he met a group of inquisitive sea lions.
We just really lucked out to have them want to play with us for a while.
One UBC professor says scientists have only recently accepted how these behaviors mimic ours.
Most animals, especially the complex ones, have something that resembles our sentience, our agency, and our will to do things and to interact with the world.
Both Mullen and Roney say the experience left them speechless and in awe of the wildlife in this corner of the province. Isabella Zavarisi, CTV News, Vancouver.
That's it for us. Thanks for watching. For your latest local headlines, you can always head to our website. I'm back tonight with your late news at 11. Bye for now.